And at the end, up comes Michael Aspel, and, you know, there you were. So your life is now plagued by people going, did you know? So you can do a mass answer now. No, you didn't, I presume.
No, I really didn't know. No, I had no idea at all. When you look back at it afterwards, of course,
Yeah.
there are kinds of strange things that have happened that
Yes,
you've
of
not
course.
had any explanation for. And you think, that's why
Yeah.
that was done. You know?
Such as, can you give us any?
Well, yes, Sheila, that's my wife. Sheila's mum and dad coming down to stay like 2 weeks before Christmas rather than at Christmas or after Christmas. And then the fact that obviously she's heard all of my stories about my life in Texas so many times that she switches off immediately. I start on one. But she actually did ask me on a couple of occasions, what was the name of that bloke that you used to...
Oh,
you know,
really? See, I'm
it-
thinking you should have been thinking this is your life at that point.
No, because you see, the one thing which I thought I was very pleased with, because I once, years and years and years ago, I was shopping in the King's Road, which I'll tell you how long ago it was, and it was in the summer, and this car pulled up, a BMW or something convertible, you know, this woman leant out, John, great to see you, how's it going, mate? All of this waving and stuff like this, and like, you know, like you do, I thought, on the other hand, my memory's appalling anyway, so I went over, hello, great to see you, gosh, you know, still doing the same thing, all that kind of stuff. And she was talking to a bloke called John standing behind me.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of those things, Sheila was there to see it happen, and it still comes up. If I get a bit pushy, you know, at home, she reminds me about that.
Hello, John.
So when Michael Aspel appeared at my elbow, I didn't immediately say, what, little me? Michael? You know, so I actually thought, because I didn't want him to say, no, John, actually, this is your life, Björk, or whatever.
It's Michael Crawford standing behind you, yeah.
That's right,
But
so-
it does take a second. You greeted it with the words, I was actually looking forward to going home, Michael. Did you regret that when you said it? Did you think, that sounds a rotten thing to say?
No, not at all. No, it's a human thing to say.
It's a very
That's exactly what I was looking, because the recording the Top of the Pops was awful. I mean, a lot of it is my fault because I'm
really?
unfamiliar with the technology. Well, one of the things, I mean, how much time have you got?
Oh,
You know how, on top of the cameras, you used to have the little red light on top of the camera.
Yeah.
So I'd be peering through, in the old days, you'd be kind of peering through the dry ice at the little red light because you knew that's where the camera was. So still instinctively I did that, except the red lights are now what we used to call inches before it became illegal, about 6 inches off to the left. So, of course, it'd look as though I'd got some kind of bizarre squint. So I'd be saying, well, coming up next on Top of the Pops, I'd be looking away from the camera. So they kept having to stop and say, John, sorry, can we do that again? Can you remember to look at the camera? But then, because of the technology, they'd have to get people like Björk to come back out of her dressing room, put the makeup back on again, get her hair done
So
again.
when was this? Wednesday night?
This was done on Wednesday,
night. And one other thing, and I'm sorry to reducing this to people who have been on This Is Your Life, but the one terrible thing when you're waiting to walk out before the show begins and you're in the wings and they're saying, and it goes, dan, 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 and you walk around the corner, I couldn't help but think there's not a paying audience, there's an audience here who think, it's going to be Richard Attenborough.
That's right.
It's going to be John Cleese.
Yes.
And it's going to be you. And did you have that sort of...
Very much so, because again, I got into a situation millions of years ago, and I used to play in one of those charity football teams that was full of celebrities who had to be identified. You know, so as we came out, and sort of like playing centre forward, as you said in those days, it's the former heavyweight champion. You know, you couldn't just say the name of the people because people said, "Who's he?"
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And we went. The only time I ever agreed to go on the coach with them, we went to a working men's club in Leicester, and it was like a parody of a working men's club. It was lots of grim-faced men in pools of beer. And there was a huge woman in Spangles singing Granada when we walked in, and I just thought, you know, this is not the place for me at all. And they started they said they had a number, the team had a number which they used to get up and do, cover of Little Piece of Soap.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
A famous number of yesteryear, because Jean Latter, who sang A Little Piece of Soap, was one of the members of the team. And so they did all of the introductions, and the only person who was similarly sort of embarrassed to myself was Fraser Hines.
Oh, of course, yes. Late of Doctor Who and
That's
Emmerdale
right.
Farm, of course, yeah.
Nice bloke, he seemed, but on this occasion, they started the compare. Said, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Another member of the team. He said, the nation's #1 DJ. It's a great privilege. And of course, I thought to this audience in this place that means can only mean Jimmy Savile. And when some bloke with long hair comes up who manifestly isn't Jimmy Savile, it's not going to go down well at all. And I bolted. I have to admit, I actually ran out of the place and hid in the back of the bus. But I'll tell you the rest of the story later because it gets beyond measure.
But you had a similar feeling before you went out. But obviously it went very well. And without giving too much away, did they fly in somebody you really didn't think would be? Did they get it?
Oh
right?
yes, I mean they did, yeah. And it was, I have to say, I mean you would say it anyway, because as I said to you in the lift just a moment ago, you always say when you're talking about these things, when people say, hey John, you know, if they ever did This Is Your Life, what would you do? And you always say, well, I'd tell them to clear up, I'm not going to have any part of that. But of course, as soon as they do, you think, wow, you know, and who are they going to produce?
Man,
Who's going to turn up?
It is.
And they did, they came up with a lot of people that I was overjoyed to see. But the best part of it is really the party
Yeah,
after.
now
I was just
talking,
about to
yes.
say, and the last thing on this, a man should only ever live so long as to drink his first beer after he's just been on This Is Your
Yeah.
Life.
Well,
there is no
on
sweet...
the chance that your
Or
wife,
someone else
that
is
your
in your
wife
case.
isn't listening, Danny, you did say to me, "This is the best day of my life. It's like going to your wedding, but your wife's relatives aren't there."
Well, there you are. And it was everyone was there for you.
But the great thing is that you see things like, I can mention one person because he wasn't one of the sort of, well, no, he was, but I can mention it anyway. He was Paul Whitehouse, because I love the Fast Show.
Yeah.
It's the funniest
Yeah.
thing that's been on television in years. Just can't get enough of that. And but later on, I could see him in the corner talking to Trevor, who runs our village shop, and you think, what can they have been talking about?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, anyway, congratulations, John, because that is the word. And it's odd for the old rock and roll generation to pitch up on This Is Your Life.
It
But
is.
more and
Really
more
odd,
are
yeah.
doing it. And I say,
Unabashed.
I'm all for it. By the way, Dan, what was the name of that fella you used to... What was his name, Danny Kelly? It was he used to go years ago. I can't remember. He used to once...